Welcome to this week's episode of the Lido Loop. I am your host, Jack McCraw. With me, as always, my good friend, Jesse Barboza. Well, we normally start with previewing what we're going to talk about, but Jesse, I think we need to start with some immediate housekeeping. And let's say I made a pretty big mistake last episode. We were talking about Six Flags Fiesta Texas' new roller coaster, Werewolf George. Well, apparently my University of Houston education means I can't read, and it's actually Werewolf Gorge. There's not an extra E in it.
and we definitely look up the definition of it. It makes a lot more sense. What's the definition of it?
So a gorge is a narrow valley between hills or mountains, typically with steep rocky walls and a stream running through it. So it makes a lot more sense to call it Werewolf Gorge because it goes through the quarry wall in Fiesta, Texas.
It was definitely funny because you were looking up the whole lore of it and trying to figure out why they're naming it Werewolf George.
And I came up with like a French author's pseudonym was George, and he made werewolf stories. I thought, oh, that's really cool. That's really unique. But no, I just apparently can't read. So the roller coaster coming in 2027 to Fiesta, Texas is Werewolf Gorge, not Werewolf George. Even though Werewolf George would also kind of have a nice ring to it. You will definitely not let me live this down. But in other news, sir, what is the latest and greatest in the cruise world?
Yeah, so the first thing is Relax Away gets an upgrade. MSC quietly gets rid of their drink limits. And a mile-long cruise ship could be a reality.
A mile-long cruise ship sounds insane on paper, but we're going to break it down and see how this actually could be plausible. And on the theme park side of things, Universal has announced new details about their new theme park coming to the United Kingdom. More details have come out about the Iron Shark roller coaster getting stuck at Galveston's historic Pleasure Pier. And speaking of Fiesta, Texas and Six Flags Great Adventure have a little bit of a beef, or you could say a gentleman's bet, in regards to the NBA Finals. In our final topic, Jesse and I will break down what are the best ways to save for a cruise, including payment plans, apps that could give you money back towards your cruise, credit card rewards, weekly saving tips, and of course, having a nice side hustle. That and much more on this week's episode of The Lido Loop. So starting off the show, we always like to start with the cruise news, and we're going to start at Relax Away, where Jesse, the upgrade is complete, I hear.
Yeah, actually, for someone who follows cruise news like I do, I honestly didn't even know this was happening. And the upgrades are actually great.
Before we break down the new upgrades to Relax Away, you want to tell our audience a little bit about Relax Away, Jesse?
Yeah, so Relax Away at Half Moon Cay is actually one of Carnival's private destinations. The biggest issue with this island was it was always a tender port because they didn't have a pier that ships could dock at. So that means a lot of people couldn't get off the ship that were like handicapped or they had to use a wheelchair at all. They couldn't use it. But now with this new big upgrade, they have added a big pier which will actually handle XL class Carnival ships. This is also shared with the Holland America, which is a Carnival brand, but they're on the other side of the island, and they still will be tendering. They will not be using Carnival's pier. But other than just the pier being bigger, the biggest aim was to allow larger Carnival ships to visit. Of course, they want to increase the capacity because and if they increase guest capacity, more money, right? They also wanted to improve the food, transportations, and the beach facilities. So the new amenities they added also included expanded beachfront area, complimentary loungers and umbrellas. I heard that they added like 4,000 loungers with umbrellas, so which is nice because the umbrella you don't have to pay anything extra, and you still get an umbrella while you're relaxing on the beach. And Relax Away is also known for like having white beaches, like the sand are like white. They're beautiful beaches. A lot of people say they're better than Celebration Keys beaches.
That I completely agree with.
They also have new cabanas and day beds. They have new beach bars and restaurants. They actually have an island tram transportation. It's actually really long, so it's definitely recommended to get on the tram because it's like takes 30 minutes to walk around the whole area if you don't. They actually have a scenic walking path called Papaya Pathway, and they have added refresh facilities throughout the island. Some of the new food and drink venues include Orchard Beach Bar, Hibiscus Beach Grill, Luna Tide Beach Bar, Stay a While Beach Shack. I don't know. I will be going to this island here in, September?
September '08, I think is what you said.
No, I think it'd be like in September, later September, we will be visiting. So I'm definitely looking forward to seeing these upgrades. The biggest issue was I did not want it to be a tender port because, I mean, with kids and all that, I hate having to go back and forth. I like to be able to, whenever I want to go back to ship, I can go.
Yeah, that was going to bring up my next question was, in regards to a tender port versus just a standard, pier, you would say a pier is significantly more efficient to get on and off, and you don't have to deal with, getting on these smaller boats. Because, I mean, when I went to the Cayman Islands, that's what I had to do was get on these tender ports, and, sometimes those waters can be really rough in those small boats, so I much prefer the pier. Are you of the same agreement?
Oh, yeah, definitely, absolutely, because, I mean, first off, usually there's a long line, people try and get on and off the boat.
And only so many people can get on these boats at a time, so you have to wait for them to keep coming back.
Exactly. Typically, they do have enough, like, as soon as it fills, there's another one right behind it, so they kind of rotate pretty fast. But it's the fact that I like to be able to get on and off, like Cozumel or any other destination that has a pier that whenever I want, and get back on whenever I want, without having to, like, sit and wait for a new boat to come. So.
But going back on topic to the Relax Away, it seems like there is a little bit of similarities between that and Celebration Key, because I do remember Celebration Key having trams to go all over the that destination as well. And, with these upgrades, do you think it could rival Celebration Key at some point, or even, make it look bigger by comparison?
Yeah, actually, a lot of people are saying right now that they like Relax Away at Half Moon Cay better because they Relax Away kind of kept a lot more of the plants that, like, the natural plants that are on the island, stuff like that. So it seems a lot more like you're in the Bahamas, other than like Celebration Key just looked like we were like at a beach resort. It could have been in wherever across the United States, anywhere. You would never know.
There was absolutely nothing Bahaman about Celebration Key except for maybe some little shops that said, "Hey, Bahamas." I got a magnet, and that, I mean, you could have blindfolded me, put me on the island. I thought we were still in, the Florida Keys, not at a private beach destination in the Bahamas.
Yeah, exactly. And the one thing about this, there's plenty of beaches access. I think the beach is over a mile long, so you have plenty of areas to hang out, enjoy the beach, and do whatever you want on the island.
Yeah, we can't wait to look forward to your review of that here in the future. And, switching topics a little bit, I'm hearing MSC is quietly getting rid of their drink limits, Jesse. Now, you went on MSC. Is this different from when you went in January versus what they're rolling out right now?
Yeah, so actually I kind of stumbled upon this news because throughout the year I like to price different cruises just to see, what it's going to take to get us on the next cruise. And I was pricing out on MSC Seascape, and it asked if you want to add the drink package to it. I was like, yeah, let's price it out that way. And then underneath it said no drink limit. I was like, oh, that's crazy, because whenever I was on it, it was 15 limit.
And that's the standard for most cruise lines, right?
Well, a lot of them, yes. I know Royal Caribbean doesn't have it, but Carnival does. MSC did. Margaritaville does, and NCLs I think does too. So most cruise lines do have a limit because, first off, I mean, like what happened at Royal Caribbean, that guy had like 30 something and ended up dying because of it, because he drank so much, and it was a lot to the story. But anyways, to get back on topic, yeah, I think, honestly, me personally, I can never hit 15. I mean, I understand some people think 15's low or limit. I think, honestly, if you're consuming more than 15 a day anyways, I think that's kind of ridiculous.
I think the max in like any sort, not just cruise, but like any sort of like drinking, I think 10 was like my absolute limit. And, by that point, you're gone. So I can't imagine what 15 does. And this unlimited, do you feel like people would not only take advantage of this, but, this could potentially be hazardous to people's health?
I really don't think so, honestly, because, I mean, once you get close to 15 anyways, it already becomes hazardous, honestly.
I mean, and the bartenders can cut you off, say, no, you've had too much to drink.
Yeah, this doesn't limit that at all. This just pretty much says that you're not getting, you can get as much as you want, but if they do see like you're drunk or anything, they will cut you off immediately. Me personally, I think the drinks on like Carnival are better than MSC. For some reason, I don't know what it was about the drinks on MSC. It didn't really, they weren't really as good as the ones on Carnival. So I don't really see a lot of people hitting the 15, drink limit, regardless if they had it or not. But I definitely think this is a good step for MSC. But I just don't know why they didn't make it public, honestly.
Yeah, I'm not too sure either. Maybe there's some rule against promoting all you can drink. I have no clue. But yeah, this definitely doesn't nothing but help MSC as far as, wanting people to come over there. Because not only are they, pricing their cruises, fairly similar to Royal Caribbean and Carnival, but now they're offering incentives like we talked about off air. Kids, can get on for free for certain cruises, and they have a much more of a big advertising budget where you see Orlando Bloom and Drew Barrymore. Which that's funny that we forgot Drew Barrymore was a girl, but we absolutely remember Orlando Bloom. So make the jokes if you will.
Hey, Carnival, they do have Shaquille O'Neal.
I mean, I feel like he's more of a memorable person than...
Hey, he's the chief fun officer.
Chief fun officer.
That's what they call him. So,
I mean, if you want your product to sell, put Shaq in it.
He's in everything. So
this would be a fun. Going back to the MSC drinking, this is a fun MSC drinking game. You have unlimited drinks. Every time you see Shaq in a commercial for anything, you're gonna hit that 15 plus limit in a heartbeat. That's why they have the unlimited drink package. But going back over to, the reason why I think this could be good for MSC is that it's nothing but free publicity and essentially one more incentive to try MSC in America. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. Especially like you're more willing to try a new drink because you're like, oh, I want to waste a new drink if you got unlimited, right? So, and there's actually no limit. Like Carnival has a 10-minute limit between drinks. MSC doesn't have that limit. You can get 2 drinks if you want, 4 drinks at the same time.
So, not to be that guy, but theoretically, you could buy everyone a bunch of drinks and just go crazy if you wanted to.
Well, I know they do make it so that you can't like
be buying for other people.
Other people, but they might do 2 drinks, but if you say, oh, I want 10 drinks.
Yeah, they know that they're like, yeah, we're not going to be able to do that. So probably there's like a 2 drink minimum, maybe even 4 if you just have like everyone right there with you. But if you're just getting, like a round of shots for an entire craps table, I think they'll catch on to that pretty quickly.
Yeah, definitely. But like I said, if there's a new drink you want to try, hey, try it out on MSC because you don't have to worry about if you don't like it. You just honestly just toss it back and just get a new one.
And speaking of trying new things, now this is more of a hypothetical story, but have you heard about a mile-long cruise ship that could soon become a reality? That sounds absolutely insane, but why don't you break it down for us a little bit, Jesse?
Yeah, so Freedom Ship International, they have made a proposal called, this new ship's going to be called the Freedom Ship. The ship is expected to be nearly a mile long, which is massive, which is about, what do we say, about 4 times the size of...
Yeah, it's 4.4 times the size of an Icon class ship.
Yeah.
Because Icon class is, dummy math is about 1,200 feet long.
Which is the largest cruise ship right now in the world.
I mean, the dry dock for an Icon class ship is massive. Can you imagine how big the dry dock would have to be for a mile-long ship?
They would definitely have to make its own individual dry dock and all that just for this ship. But anyways, it's going to be about 30 decks high. It's going to be more than 2 million gross tons. It's designed to carry up to 80,000 people, including residents, tourists, and crew. For comparison, Icon is currently among the largest ships afloat. It carries about 10,000 people, including the crew. So Freedom Ship would definitely be many times larger than this ship. Some of the plans, it's really not, I wouldn't even call this a ship. It's more to be like a floating city. Wouldn't you say the same?
This sounds so sci-fi. Like, like the land is uninhabitable anymore, so we have to live out in the ocean just because there's so much of it.
Yeah, this is what happens when the zombies take over.
I see that, yeah. So that's what they're ultimately preparing for. But, I mean, it sounds like a good idea on paper, but, I mean, the feasibility of it and the realistic aspect of putting a literal mile-long ship out in the ocean, that just sounds insane. I don't think it couldn't be done, but more so like one, the budget is going to be massive. I heard it was going to be upwards of like $16 billion just to construct this. And my thing is, what's the point? I guess it could go to many more destinations internationally, and I think people are actually going to live here instead of just come here on vacation, which they could do both, from my understanding.
Yeah, exactly. Because this is like I said, it's going to be like a city. The plans include apartments and homes. They plan schools and colleges, a hospital, shopping district, restaurants and bars. They have museums. I don't know how you put a museum on it.
I mean, you got to find a way to put a dinosaur on that ship.
Of course, they have to have a water park, a 15,000 seat sports stadium, which I don't know.
So wait, they're going to have a university here, University at Seas, and they're going to play, University of Houston on the ship. I mean, imagine trying to get tickets for that.
That would. They are going to have parks and green spaces and an international tram system for transportation. This literally would be like a city, right?
I mean, this is Waterworld, but in reality, it's such a crazy concept, and it kind of harkens back to like the time of flying cars will never be a thing. Well, that's something being worked on. Even going back to cars all being electrical, that's almost become the standard at this point. So the innovation is there, the technology is probably there. The feasibility and the realistic aspect of this happening could, but I think people get so worked up of just because we could doesn't mean we should. I think it's certainly a very unique concept, and I think that this would serve like the rich and luxurious of the world, that they could go on this like floating city. But I mean, I guess it just gives people one more destination.
Yeah, I feel like we're definitely like the technology really isn't there for this yet, because I mean, I know they can build a cruise ship, but building a cruise ship in a floating city is kind of two different things, I think. Because first off, they don't have a dock for this. You'd have to make a dry dock big enough so that this can, get maintained, the ship, because you can't like work on ships all the time out in the sea. Sometimes you have to have a dry dock, and trying to get people off the ship to do a dry dock is going to be really crazy too, because these people are living here, so it's not like you can just like say, hey, by the way, you got to find a new place to live for a whole month, which they probably go on another cruise for a month.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, they'll go to Carnival at that point.
Yeah.
But I mean, it just sounds like a good idea in theory, but I feel like the more realistic aspect of this is a city being built out in the middle of the ocean, which that probably could be it. If like what happens if the ship breaks down and you're in the middle of the Pacific, it just gets stuck there. How many tugboats does it take to get that thing to a safe place?
I don't even think that's possible, because whenever so like remember the Carnival Triumph, like they had like 3 tugboats and it was struggling, and that class of ship is actually a pretty small ship compared to, I mean, especially compared to this, it'd be like 100 times bigger. It would require a special tugboat just for this. It'd be like a cruise size tugboat just to pull this.
I think you would need the Carnival Triumph, which I think is now the Sunshine, but that size ship just to pull the other one, and maybe like two Icon Seas to help pull it too. Like, this is such a fun, hypothetical for a giant, luxurious floating city at seas, and I'm sure it's going to have its clientele. But I think realistically, we're about 10, maybe 20 plus years away from even like getting this thing like any sort of off of pen to paper into reality, don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely. And like just powering the thing in general, I know we kind of talked, it would have to be nuclear, right? I mean, there's no other way of it. I mean, there's no way they're going using LNG or diesel to power something like this.
Not unless Elon Musk, finds a way to, make all cruises electrical.
Hey, one day maybe. One day.
I think so too. And then
yeah, so that kind of covers all of the cruise news. So in theme park news, Jack, what's going on with Universal? And I heard they announced some details about the new theme park in UK.
Yes, so this will be the first of either Universal or Disney in the United Kingdom, and this is the biggest announcement this year as far as theme park goes. So Universal announced official name. It's Universal United Kingdom Resort, and it's still a little ways away because this project got cleared in last year in 2025. And they're projecting an opening date of 2031. So construction is already underway. So, I mean, they are moving pretty quickly, but this, just keeps Universal in the big market as far as expanding, because they have two now, about to be three parks here in the United States, with Universal Kids opening on July 1st, like we talked about. They have the permanent Halloween Horror Night show in Las Vegas, and then they also have parks in Japan and Singapore. So Universal is slowly adding more and more parks internationally to compete with Disney. And I mean, I was going to say, when are we going to get our real Texas one, Jesse?
I think we did say this was the last episode.
It was last episode, yeah.
Yeah, last episode, like, hey, we're Central United States, Texas. We have a massive economy. There's so many people who want a Universal here. If Universal is listening, please give us a park for adults and teenagers.
Yes, please. Not just, I mean, we talked about it a little bit last week and in previous episodes, but I think that the Universal Kids is the testing ground. If it's successful, then maybe an actual Universal park could be built here in Texas. And, going back to the United Kingdom, though, some of the rumored lands include, you got to have these four if for any Universal park: Jurassic World, Harry Potter, Minions, and Super Nintendo World.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you definitely got a Harry Potter, first off. It was like pretty much Harry Potter lives in UK.
Yeah. Oh, I'm about to say, yeah. Imagine how big Harry Potter is here. The UK, it's 10 times as much. Some other, I mean, it's still very early on, but some other rumored, lands that could be in the park are Paddington Bear and James Bond, which those are, bigger properties in the UK as well. Jesse, this is kind of funny. I actually didn't know who Paddington Bear was. Did you?
I actually did. I'm not off air. I actually kind of told you who Paddington was, and you're like, "Who's Paddington?" I'm like, "It's a bear."
Yeah, I mean, he's a bear. He wears a hat. He's from Peru. I vaguely remember this from my childhood, I guess. I mean, I know you have kids who probably did read Paddington 10 plus years ago.
Honestly, yeah, I do remember the books, but I do remember they had like 2 movies that came out too with it. I mean, they're definitely mainly for kids, but I do remember I did watch both the movies.
So yeah, I mean, I've learned something new about Paddington Bear today. So, but yes, it's still a park that's in the works. So I mean, I eventually do want to go to the United Kingdom. There's always NFL games over there, and there's, from not only just a sports perspective, but they also have Alton Towers, which I hear is one of the best theme parks in the world. So this could give me one more reason to go over across the pond, as you will, to the UK.
Yeah, you definitely have to wait until 2031, I guess.
Yeah, I got time to save up for then. It's, hey, jet fuel is getting more and more expensive. Maybe Spirit will be back by then, and then they'll start flying to the UK. So,
speaking of theme parks, we did talk about the Iron Shark roller coaster that had a breakdown at Pleasure Pier here in Galveston. What's the new details on this?
So new details have emerged, and it was actually due to a failed sensor. So the roller coaster was working perfectly before, but on that initial descent, it was part of the rides. If something doesn't work, it automatically just shuts the ride off. And I guess because it was already on the chain lift hill, like they couldn't just bring it backwards. So it got stuck there. And, of course, firefighters, spent hours trying to get those 8 people off of the ride. And luckily no one was hurt, and some people were just treated for dehydration. But it was essentially just a failed sensor. And right now the ride is still closed and undergoing tests. Does this give you any sort of peace of mind if you ever go to Pleasure Pier or want to ride this ride again?
Yeah, I mean, I know every coaster is going to have issues like this. It's the ones that don't have sensors is the ones I would worry about, right? I mean, because, that sensor is there for a reason.
Yes, that sensor is there for the guest's safety in mind. And, of course, tragically, we've seen incidences where, workers have overrode the sensor, like what happened on the new Texas Giant at Six Flags Over Texas over a decade ago. When the lap bar didn't go all the way down, they overrode it and that lady fell off. Same with that kid on the drop tower over in Orlando. So it's the safety mechanisms are there for a reason, and I'm glad that they went off and instead of something more tragic happening. Like I said, luckily no one was hurt, and at this point in time, Iron Shark will still be closed. So if you're trying to go to Galveston and you want to go to Pleasure Pier, I mean, that's probably not the best idea because the park will be very busy especially the main roller coaster being out.
So in other news, so How is Six Flags and NBA related?
So for those of you that don't know, the San Antonio Spurs and the New York Knicks are playing in the NBA Finals now for the first time since 1999. And a lot of times, theme parks, zoos, aquariums, place that people go, touristy places, they'll have a little bit of a gentleman's agreement between each other. So Six Flags Fiesta Texas, which is in San Antonio, and Six Flags Great Adventure, which is in New Jersey, pretty close to New York, and I'm sure New York claims that park, made a little bit of a bet in regards to what the outcome of the NBA Finals. So the losing park must change its front gate marquee to honor the winning city. So if the Knicks win, Fiesta Texas will say go Knicks, and vice versa for Six Flags Great Adventure for the Spurs. The losing park must also display the winning city's colors around the park. So Fiesta Texas, orange and blue, Great Adventure, black and silver. The losing park must also donate $500 to a charity of chosen by the winning park. So, I mean, it's all in good fun, and it's a good way for, Six Flags just, increase their marketing and show a little bit of sense of community backing up their, NBA teams.
I definitely think this is definitely a Six Flags cheap thing for sure. What do you think?
Are you telling me you won't see Disney or Universal, doing this if the Orlando Magic and the Lakers or Clippers who are playing against each other?
I mean, these big corporations, they got $500. You can tell they purposely did stuff that doesn't cost any money, like changing lights. Like it's usually just like a button,
Yeah. There's probably already orange and blue LEDs built in. They're like, oh, they'll just change it real quick. $500. Yeah, I mean, you and I could donate $500 to charity. No one would say anything.
Yeah, $500 is nothing. I think it should be more like at least $5,000. But hey, it's not my money, but it's just definitely how cheap Six Flags really is, I guess.
So there are other team-specific rules. So if the Spurs win, Great Adventure in New Jersey will light its giant green wheel, which is their Ferris wheel, in Spurs colors, and make a charitable donation, like I said earlier, which that kind of goes in line with just changing the light colors. I guess the best thing is if the Knicks win, Fiesta Texas president Robert Betzel agreed to wear Knicks blue and orange, decorate parts of the park in Knicks colors, and also make that $500 donation. So, I mean, I don't know. This is like if you go to school, like, hey, I bet this team is going to win, and if they do, you have to wear a shirt. Yeah. You're right. It's a very cheap bet, but I mean, I guess at the end of the day, it's just all marketing for Six Flags.
Do you have any bets on who's going to win?
Initially, when the series started, I thought San Antonio would win in 6. As we are currently recording, the Knicks are up 2-0, and they won both games in San Antonio. It's going to be a long uphill battle, but after beating San Antonio twice at home, I think the Knicks are going to win probably in 5 games. That city of New York is going to burn to the ground, by the way, if they do. So as we alluded to a little bit earlier, Jesse and I have some, saving tips to go on a cruise. And the first thing you and I talked about was payment plans. I mean, this specifically applies to Carnival. So can you break down a little bit as to how Carnival's payment plans actually work?
Yeah, so how Carnival plans work is that, first off, your cruise has to be paid off 3 months in advance. So if you book a cruise 3 months out, it's got paid off immediately. So you kind of got time on your side. If you say, hey, next year, next summer, or whatever, I want to go on a cruise, that means it gives you, if you got a year, it gives you, like 8 or 9 months to pay off that cruise. So what Carnival does is, say your cruise is $3,000. You first got to put a deposit. Sometimes the deposits are only $100 per person. And then every month they break that whatever you owe left into those months, so the 8 or 9 months. So it makes a lot smaller payment. So usually if you book a cruise a year out, it's only going to be like $200, maybe $300 for a family of 4 to go on a cruise each month you're paying. So it makes it a lot more affordable. Carnival's the only cruise line that I know that actually does this, which is, I definitely give props to Carnival, because it helps you realize that a cruise is a lot more affordable for, people who can't afford to go multiple times a year. Like I've been blessed to be able to go multiple times a year. But for other people, once is hard enough. So I definitely, like I said, gives them a little help.
Yeah, because when we went on the Breeze a couple years ago, when you initially asked me to go on this cruise with you and your family and everyone else, I thought there's no way I would be able to afford a cruise. And then when you actually broke down the prices, I believe it came out to somewhere around like $108 or $110 a month for me alone. I was like, oh, well, that's, that's like even less than the car payment or like, rent or any sort of bill nowadays. So, luckily we were able to, I was able to finance that up until that point and, was able to go on that cruise. And when we went on the Breeze, that one was a lot easier because that was significantly cheaper. So I'm glad that Carnival does have this option because it does make it a lot more affordable for more people that can't drop, the $3,000 or sometimes $5,000 or $6,000.
And it's definitely not like any extra to do this, by the way. It doesn't like cost. It's not like you're really not financing it. It just breaks your payments down. So you're not like going to end up with the interest. They're not adding any interest. It's just breaking it to even payments. So it's a lot more affordable.
Absolutely. And so how about some other tips that get you a little bit of extra money for cruises? I know you have certain apps. You want to tell us a little bit about what you use is to earn a little bit extra money before your vacation?
So the number one app that I use is definitely Upside.
Real quick, we're not sponsored by them. We're just telling you about this.
Yeah, none of these apps sponsors. I am willing to accept sponsorships, but
Upside, if you're listening, you shoot us an email.
But no, we're not sponsored by any of these. These are just great apps that you can use to help you save money for a cruise. So the first one is Upside. It's definitely good for like gas, and they have some restaurants that you get money back. Some restaurants are like 36% money back, which are great, that you can use towards a cruise. And it's easy to cash out, and you can get a gift card or whatever. Some other ones, I haven't used these yet, but I did a little bit of research. Gas Buddy. Gas Buddy is pretty popular. It kind of shows you the cheapest gas around, and it helps you get like points off for gas, or it kind of helps you to save money on gas so you can save money elsewhere. Fetch is actually really good. You can play games to get points, and you can also scan your receipts, and there's multiple other things you can do to get rewards, so you can kind of use that money for, And
it's everyday purchases, stuff you already need, like food and gas.
Exactly, yeah. And they do have certain items. There's so many items, and I'm like, man, we buy this every week. Like, why not, scan the receipt and then just get these points for it, and then at the end of the year, you can use that towards your cruise. And one thing that actually me and you both use is my Vegas slot app, and you've actually used the points. I have like 1.2 million points on it right now, and I've never used it, but the amount of points I have, it actually allows me to book a cruise for free on Norwegian. It's like a 7-day comp cruise I can get for like half the points I have right now. I just haven't used it yet, but because the reason I haven't used it is because usually you gotta like sell within like the next 3 months, and usually I already got my PTO planned off with my normal job, and also have like other cruises booked by that time, so I can't really use it as soon as that. But eventually one day I will. And you've used it, Jack, right? How have you used it?
So I used it actually in Las Vegas. So I've used it to go to the Mandalay Bay Shark Reef Aquarium. I've used it for, most of the time I use it for dining, just because, eating in Vegas is pretty expensive nowadays. So a 2-for-1 Vegas buffet, took my friend there, and we just paid the price for one buffet, and it ended up being like $17 a person, which is much more reasonable than like or I think it was close to $40 now per person for buffets. They have like 2-for-1 drink specials. There's the Las Vegas roller coaster at the New York hotel. Don't recommend it, by the way, but you can do that as well on the app. So there's a bunch of little things, and you could also even get some sort of free play in the slot machines. And, I'm glad they're incorporating cruises in it as well, because, cruising is a big gambling destination, as well as, our listener, Maddie, and all of you know. So having not only, you don't have to go to Vegas to use the points, but also on a cruise ship is, it just makes the app much more popular. And yeah, that's eventually something I would like to do as well, is utilize those points in order to book a cruise ship eventually, or cruise eventually.
Yeah, the 2 cruise lines that are actually on there right now are Norwegian and Royal, actually on there too. Royal never really offers cruises on it. It seems like they just offer like money in the casino. Like they'll offer $100, $200 you can use in the casino, which makes sense, because if you're going to play a slot machine app, you're more likely going to play the slot machines on cruise, right? And by the way, this This app doesn't cost you any money. It's not like using real money to gamble with. This is just like fake money, but as you play, you get points towards to actually
Yeah,
spend on
and
stuff.
they do offer, you can buy more coins, but I mean, the machines on the phone are designed to pay out more, so you don't really have to unless you're just, very done with your money. But I mean, if you're done with your money on the app, you probably are going to be done with your money in real life. So maybe that's not the best idea to go on a Vegas style vacation at sea. But yes, the My Vegas app is definitely very beneficial, not only for a trip to Las Vegas, but also on cruise lining as well. Another thing that we could talk about here is credit card rewards. Now, with some of the credit cards I have, some of them times they do offer specific cash back if you use it for Carnival, but you can also get cash back on other things that you can use towards a cruise, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I actually do have the Barclays, which is a Carnival's credit card. I use that, and I got a bunch of rewards. I've had it for about 3 years, and I'm pretty much what I got it for was I was like, I'm gonna give free cruise outs this one day, and I'm almost there. I'm probably about 3 months away of my normal spending I use on my credit card to actually like be able to book a cruise and all that. So my goal is that's my ultimate goal. But anyways, this only works though if you actually pay your balance off, because a lot of people they'll get points and benefits, but they're paying so much in interest and all that. So the best way to do is just use the credit card like a debit card and then pay it off every month. But it's definitely recommended. And the thing about Carnival's credit card is they actually have 6 months financing free. So if you book a cruise that's $3,000, you have 6 months to pay it off for completely free, which is nice too.
Yeah, it's nice that they do a little bit of a deferred payment right there, because like we talked about earlier, not everyone can drop that kind of money for a cruise right away. So I mean, it's nice that Carnival does offer these, I would call it incentives to try to pay off the balance, over a certain amount of allotted time versus all at once. And of course, having good credit cards with rewards like that do help as well. Another tip we have is, weekly savings. So something like if your cruise is $3,000, you think saving something like $58 a week would definitely go a long ways into helping you save that money for your cruise?
Yeah, absolutely. That's why I did the math. So $3,000, $58 a week sounds a lot more reasonable, right? Mm-hmm. If you look at the whole $3,000, you're like, man, $3,000 is kind of a lot. But I still tell everyone, if you're spending $3,000 on a cruise, that's way more cheaper than going to Disney, Universal, or any land-based vacation. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes, and especially because when we went to Disney, even though we had a shorter time, I mean, the park tickets alone were like $150 each, and that doesn't include food, hotel, rental car, flights. Especially now with Spirit being gone, it's even more expensive. So yes, cruising has definitely become more of the alternative way to travel on a budget, especially because once you get on board, everything's included, and whatever you want to spend, you can, but you don't have to budget for your food, your place where you're going to stay, or even certain activities you want to do.
Exactly, and I tell everyone this too, because the first time we went on a cruise, me and my wife, we really didn't have a lot of money at all, and we pretty much didn't spend any money on board, and we had a blast. Once you get on a cruise ship, you don't have to spend any money on alcohol. Everything's pretty much included. Yeah, if you want sodas, that is included, but honestly, the water, they do have free water and juices and tea and stuff like that on board that most of them were pretty good, that you can literally go on board and spend not a penny and still have a blast.
Do what I do. Bring Dr. Pepper on the ship, so that way you have some and you don't have to pay for the soda.
Yeah, that's definitely a tip. Yeah, you can bring a 12-pack, and then you also can bring like a bottle of wine too per person. So that kind of helps as well.
You're telling me you don't have to put alcohol in mouthwash anymore and just Diet Green?
Yeah, definitely do not do that. They will ban you now. Carnival does say they will ban you. So if you want to risk it, go ahead, put alcohol in mouthwash.
No. You got to put it in water now, and then just put it in individual water bottles. See? Smart. Don't listen to me, though, for that. The last thing we kind of wanted to talk about for tips to save money is a side hustle. Now, your brother turned his side hustle into an actual business, buying and reselling on eBay. And that's, a certain side hustle I've seen people do come up recently, just buying and reselling it in order to make a little bit more money. And I've done a little bit on the side, not nearly as much as your brother, but what are some side hustles that they could do?
So definitely, I mean, of course, you can do all like what everyone does with the Uber Eats or
DoorDash,
Lyft, DoorDash, all that type of stuff. And like I said, $58 a week. If you just do, what is that? That's maybe like a few deliveries, maybe 3 deliveries, maybe 4 deliveries max, and you get $58. Like if you did that every week, you know, you could easily save up for a cruise, you know. And like I said, I just want to make sure that this is all reachable goals for everyone. Like I know going on one cruise, like I said, it could be really difficult for some people, and I'm just, like I said, I've been blessed where I don't have to. I can go on multiple year and still have a lot of fun.
Absolutely. And yeah, some other things I thought about, even a part-time job. I mean, remember you and I talking about this, you know, in your earlier days, that when you did have 2 jobs, you only used one job as fun money, and your other job was, you know, for bills and everything else around the house. You were flipping burgers, you know, not for fun, but to pay for vacations.
Yeah, absolutely. I did that, and then also just thinking about like if they have overtime opportunities at your job, you know, just think, hey, I use this overtime money for, you know, fun money, or, you know, if you get bonuses at work, just try to use that for fun money. You know, that's also a good tip, to just work extra hours. You know, if you work a few extra, you know, if you work extra day out of the week, like if you work extra Saturday or whatever your schedule is, you can easily pay for a cruise.
Yep, and I'm glad that we have this little TED Talk for you guys about how to save up for a cruise. I'm glad we motivated you to start saving that money. That'll do it for this week's episode of the Lido Loop. As always, you can find us on our YouTube channel. We are the Lido Loop. We also have a Facebook page. You can find our podcast anywhere on Apple Music, Spotify, Amazon, and wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Jack. That's Jesse, and we will see you
on the Lido deck
or on an MSC ship enjoying that unlimited drink package.
Thank you for watching this episode of Lido Loop. Like, subscribe, and ring the bell so you're notified every time we post more content.